Natlan is around the corner, and now you might wonder if you should pick Mualani or not, or should you rather save for Kinich? Well, you just have come to the right place. I have done a deep dive in the numbers and the background, so I will share with you what exactly she brings to the table. And since Kinich comes right after Mualani, I will also delve a little into his kit in the later stages. So by the end of the video, you will exactly know who will be the best pull for your account. My name is Neostar Impact, let's get into it. Mualani. She is probably the most unique Hydro DPS you have ever seen in Genshin. Okay, but what makes her special? I'm glad you asked. There are few things. Mualani doesn't just deal big PP nukes with her normals. No, this lady goes and gives power to very unique and interesting teams. Teams that in the past would get you laughed at and bullied in school. Giving a deserved spotlight to units that have been lost and forgotten by the community. And you know what? She makes them her actual first choice, not the second or third barely acceptable one. And she does all that using really underused reactions. Sounds good to you? Okay, then let me show you exactly how she pulls all that off. The first thing any DPS needs is of course damage, and she got that in spades. But does she do that in a fun or a clunky way? Well, mobility. It is written all over her. Her skill will give you the best drunken driver impression in the game, making her rear-end all your enemies in sight for a living. But instead of crashing once, she will do that 3 times. And it's the last one that makes sure that she gets away with murder. Because it's exactly that. Murder. No one will be left to tell the tale. To be more precise, when you activate her skill, Surf Shock, no, not the VPN, it will make her surf. Okay, but it's on anything you can imagine. Water, lava, the ground, your existential crisis, she doesn't care. In that state, her normals convert to Sharky's bites, which deals single target hydro damage, and each time her damage dealt increases, which happens 3 times. At that time, the stack count is full, and the third and final normal will convert to Shark's Searching Bite. That one also increases her damage and then removes all stacks. And then you start again until the skill runs out of the 60 Night Soul points. And oh boy, that last one will hit hard. How hard do you ask? Remember when child domains full of pride show their max PP screens? Yeah, it's that type of damage. Now, imagine that not once, but 3 times within a single skill duration. Yeah, crazy stuff, huh? This is also the reason we want to vape that stuff, especially the strongest hit. But since she is a Hydro DPS, she has to compete with no other than the guy who wields the power of the dragons. The man, the otter, Neuvillette. Well, it could be if she tried to achieve her goal the very same way, but luckily, Neuvillette and Mualani are very different. First, Mualani is a queen of single target and Neuvillette the emperor of AoE. This means that Mualani's competition is not with Neuvillette. No, it's rather characters like Nili and Arlecchino, who are way up at the tippity top of the damage charts. But Mualani brings a unique perspective into the role. While she is geared towards single target, her abilities work surprisingly well in an AoE setting, allowing her to dash fast forward around enemies. Her skill isn't pure single target. It also fires shark missiles when she does normals, who will take care of the AoE for you. What is also interesting is that I told you for the last 30 seconds how amazing Surfshark is without making an ad. Well, don't worry, it will stay that way. But you see, it's this quirky high mobility skill that helps to establish her as her own unit. Yet, alone, that wouldn't make her a juicy pull. A lot of people do crap tons of damage, but what takes her to the next level for real is her teams and choice of units. You might want to know, What could be so special about her team choices that it is worth hyping? Well, it starts with the very fact who she doesn't jam with. It's the infamous duo of Bennett and Xiangling. Yeah, you heard right. A Hydro Vape unit who doesn't want to play with the best Vape units in the game? How on earth? But if you also like me dread playing the same plain boring guys over and over since Genshin started 4 years ago, then listen, this is for you. It all starts with her 2 archetypes. There is of course traditional Vape, featuring an Anemo, Pyro and a Flex slot. And then there's Burn Vape, featuring a Dendro instead of an Anemo, allowing for burning to help with the Pyro aura uptime. Burn Vape generally is better for Mualani because it's hard to get good swirl setups going in Mualani teams. You need to swirl Hydro while infusing Pyro. The easiest way to do this would be by including Bennett. But since Mualani scales on HP, he's out. And even if you pull it off, it will not be much better than Burn Vape for her. Not worth the hassle. This, ladies and gentlemen, has strong implications who she will favor to be her best teammates. So this one is going to be juicy. So far, we have established that Mualani is very strong. She has a quirky playstyle and she puts the spotlight on an underutilized reaction, Burn Vape. And the choice of reaction is a big giveaway who pairs up best in a team. With that being said, Mualani can use both popular and completely forgotten units. For the Dendros, the main ones are Emily and Nahida. Okay, so far this is expected. Emily will be there for her large personal damage output, which speaks for itself, but Nahida is also a good choice. She provides a very large EM buff, which thanks to Mualani's HP scaling is one of the very few ways to actually buff her damage. Emily will work better in multi-wave, while Nahida cleans house on bosses. But now, look at what Hoyoverse brought us back into the game through the back door. It's lo and behold Daya, Candace and Xinyan. Like, what on earth is going on? Is Hoyo trying to say something to us? I'm not kidding. These guys actually work really well for Mualani's Pyro and Flex slots. And most importantly, no Xiangling. Because she won't have Bennett to help her out for energy and attack. And don't get me started on her energy needs. They will be astronomical. So that means all the Pyro units actually get a shot here. These are Daya, Toma and Xinyan. With Daya, if you use her near the end of the rotation, right before Mualani, you will have no issues with uptime. She provides interruption resistance and can use the new scroll of the hero Cinder set, which can buff the whole team. Then there's Toma. He is able to build a much needed EM for Nahida's A1, which allows her to run something like Instructor. His C6 will also buff Mualani's normal attacks. And then, as if it couldn't get any weirder, Xinyan makes a surprise cameo. Her shield at level 3 is able to pulse for pyro damage, and Mualani's requirements for pyro uptime is not that high since her attacks are so slow. This makes Xinyan actually viable. And if that wasn't enough for your flex slots, you can now unbench your Mona too, as she provides Hydro Resonance and front-loaded buffing. But the real kicker to me, Candace. She gives Hydro Resonance and a lot of normal attack damage. She won't even steal vapes, and she makes sword setups in traditional vape teams a lot easier. After millennia, you can finally rock Dia and Candace in one team and don't feel bad. With all these goodies mentioned, we got a strong proposition for Mualani. But there's one extra pull before I go over to her cons. Yeah, she has those too. And then there is that man Kinich waiting for his turn. And he isn't going to be any less interesting. Okay, that one point is not tied to Mualani, but if you pull her, you can get some Kachina dupes on top. She does just do damage. She can't hold the Cinder set too. It's a small plus, but hey, it's there. Of course, like all units, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. There will be some drawbacks too when picking her. While she is a very good single target DPS, she will suffer in anything above 3 targets. This is due to the fact that she will only mark a max of 3 enemies, and thus anyone not marked will not take damage. Her gameplay is very unique, true, but also very much begs for you to make mistakes. Her uptime is quite tight, so missing the mark will get you punished by a big damage loss. But thank the Lord, she has actual interrupt resist unlike Sino. And due to her having a nuking playstyle, she can overkill enemies in multi-wave, which wastes an insane amount of damage. Same if the enemy barely survives your normal attack. It's like using your Navia E on an enemy milliseconds away from death. This will make you contemplate your life choices in the depths of the spiral abyss. Alright Kinich, it's your turn. This guy is a spicy one despite being Dendro. He has a ton of hype behind him and for very good reason. Our man's is a Dendro Claymore DPS who links himself to an enemy to hit them with a barrage of attacks. Fueled by burning and burgeoning reactions, during his skill he will run circles around the enemy, hitting them with bombs before sending them an even bigger nuclear bomb in their mailbox. Kinich is going to have the highest personal damage out of any Dendro character. He plays differently compared to a Mualani and Kachina, because his Night Soul meter is not a duration bar and more of a stack counter, and when it reaches 10, he can unleash hell with his enhanced skill. Unfortunately, being a Dendro DPS, he is up against the mighty Alhaven. But hold up, wait a minute. Alhaven isn't actually that almighty. Guy has shown his age and his hyperbloom nature by continuing to suffer at higher investment levels, never catching up to the great heights of Lune and Alakino. This means that Kinich's competition for a Dendro DPS is not a big deal, but the competition of a single target DPS, oh boy, that one is there. Lune and Alakino are absolute beasts, and does Kinich beat them? I do hate to be that guy, but right now, no. As he is in the moment of talking, he will not be able to live up to his full potential. And this is due to his teams being incomplete. He stacks up his Night Soul meter by having allies trigger Burgeon and Burning. And with Burning, you got Emily right there. But dang, it isn't that simple, because completing his team as of now is borderline impossible. You want 2 power characters for the power resonance. Xiangling seems obvious again, and this time you have an actual slot for Bennett. Seems simple, right? Well, no. Thanks to Kinich's high mobility, Bennett is impractical for the average Abyss goer. His ring is too small, and keeping Kinich in there is an insane task. He also has very little interruption resistance, making this team very clunky, especially if you plan to stay close to the enemy. If you do make it work though, you get big returns. But yeah, good luck with that. Kinich has future potential to grow, even more than Mualani, because Mawika seems like a necessary puzzle piece to Kinich. When she comes out, burning teams with Emily are going to be a lot more practical than it is right now, and we'll see Kinich coming into his potential. But even if Kinich dreams turn into memes, he is still going to be at the top of Dendro. Long live the new king. So, who should you pick? Both guys, Mualani and Kinich, will pack a big punch. Both have their very unique playstyles. If you are a sucker for the guys that Mualani unbenches and also want a few Kachina dupes, but if you are more into the future king of Dendro with room to grow to even high heights, then Kinich will be your man. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed this analysis. This has been your Style Impact, signing off.